topic here is an exciting one. As Al Franken likes to say for his webinars, we have a really great one for you today for a change. He does that for every one of his webinars, so for a change, but this is really an interesting topic to explore. Now, am I qualified to talk about it? Well, yes and no. I'm qualified to talk about lean. Here's my bio here, and I spent the last 30 years or so, working in this arena. So I think I have a good feel for what lean is all about. But in terms of AI, I'm a little bit newer to the subject, probably like you, but have done some experimentation, trying it out, trying different things. And I've also read a book. So I'm probably just slightly ahead of you all, but I have read a book on the subject as well. So that's so you're not going to get an AI expert opinion here. You're going to get kind of a lean practitioner's opinion in terms of how this might affect us. Okay, so what do we mean by lean? Well, I think you probably, if you're signed up to this webinar, you already have a pretty good idea of that. But basically, it's a philosophy and it's a methodology applied to mostly to manufacturing, but it could be to hospitals. We've done quite a bit of hospital work in other industries. And the goal here is to improve the workflow, and eliminate waste, improve quality, all those good things. Process improvement, maximize value for the customers, et cetera. So this is the arena that we're going to be addressing in this webinar, how AI could impact those kind of efforts. So if we're talking about AI, then what do we do for starters? What is it we do as a lean specialist? So I organized it into the two kind of tracks that we focus on at the Leonardo Group at my company. And those are workflow design, or what we sometimes call line design or value stream improvement. That's one piece of it. And then the other wing of the bird, the other wing of the process improvement bird is the material flow. So they are related, obviously, but they're also somewhat different. So we have supply chain materials and we have workflow design. So on the workflow design, we have things like doing time studies. Standard work definition is a kind of a foundational concept. Creating flow in the form of assembly lines or value streams. Training people, coaching people in terms of working in that kind of environment, managing improvement projects. So that's basically what we do, right, as lean people. Now, on the material side, similar but different. Plan for every part is a big part of it. So creating a database of all the items that we need to make or we need to buy, and all the items related to managing those kind of items, and then coming up with ways of delivering that material all the way from outside suppliers to the point of use. So listed here, some of the topics: Kanban systems, workstation optimization for material presentation, delivery routes, working on Kaizen projects related to materials, containerization plans, all those good things. So we're not going to have a chance to welcome Michael. We're not going to have a chance to talk about all of these. So what I've done in this presentation is picked out a few. And what we're going to do here is a thought experiment. How might lean affect those particular issues in the future? Now, next thing to discuss before we get started. What is AI, or what do we mean by AI? Well, we're talking here about computer systems that can perform things that we normally do as humans. So how does this happen? Well, this is all fairly recent development. I mean, AI has been in development for many decades, really, but it was only until fairly recently that they had kind of a breakthrough in terms of allowing the machines to do machine learning, and learn on their own. So as opposed to old style computer programming where you specify line by line exactly what you want the machine to do, what you want the computer to do, where the intelligence of the computer is zero, right? The computer just executes your code. AI is a little bit different. We're feeding the computer system information, and then what happens internally is actually sometimes something of a mystery. What's actually happening in there is unknown even to the people developing the systems. So these systems can process a lot of data and then come back to us with some analysis and some help. So those of you that have started dabbling with AI are probably familiar with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is like an infant level AI in a lot of ways, but what it is kind of an enhanced Google search. where instead of getting a bunch of links back from Google, which when you put in a question or query, what you get back is kind of an answer in plain English. And you can follow up on those links. Where did this information come from? But basically, ChatGPT will do a good job of summarizing and answering your question directly, rather than having you have to click through a bunch of links and try to find what you're looking for. So we're at the very early stages of AI, but it's really taken off like wildfire. I think that ChatGPT was the fastest growing website in the history of the internet. The number of people signing up and using it. So that's kind of where we are right now. Now, the source book I'm relying on for a lot of my opinions or a lot of these facts is a book called Scary Smart, which I'll recommend to you. Mo Gaudat was a senior manager with Google X. So Google X is like the skunkworks, the experimental development, technology development branch of Google. And so he had a high level in there. So he was very close to the AI efforts happening inside Google. He also had a background with other tech companies. And Scary Smart's a great book. Now, Scary Smart sounds scary, but actually it's quite hopeful if you manage to get through the scary part. So great book, highly recommended. Check it out. Also on YouTube, Mo Gaudat's done some really good interviews on YouTube. So you just search for his name and you'll find it. And it's really, really good stuff, really great stuff. So there's that. So the main point that he's making here is, make no mistake, AI is designed to replace tasks that humans currently do today. So that's what we're going to be looking into. What could AI be contributing? Now, in his book, Scary Smart, in one of the early chapters, Mo talked about the three inevitables. So inevitable is it's going to happen, right? Like it or not, it's going to happen. And the first inevitable is AI is going to happen because there's too much pressure from the marketplace, from our capitalistic system to compete. And no one company or country is going to say, I'm going to stop developing AI when they know that everyone else is not going to stop. So nothing's going to stop it, the development and improvement. What we have here is what's called the prisoner's dilemma. The prisoner's dilemma means that if you have two prisoners or two accused people and they've been accused of a crime, but the police they don't have enough evidence to really convict them, so they present them with a dilemma. If you rat on the other guy, you'll get a lighter sentence. But if you both rat on each other, you both get kind of an equal sentence, which is not good. And the dilemma is those prisoners do not trust each other, basically. And so they end up with somewhere in between. So what we would have to have for AI to stop would be for every country, every company in the world to trust each other to stop. But that ain't going to happen, right? So AI is going to happen. No stopping it. The horse is out of the barn, as we say. Second inevitable that's going to happen is AI is going to be smarter than humans. Now, how much smarter? Well, it's already in specific domains. It's already way smarter on specific applications like playing Go, playing chess. There's no human that can beat them. And many other areas of specific focus. AI is already smarter. But for general intelligence, how much smarter will it be? Well, just pick a number. Remember this, the kind of a low level of intelligence for humans, what is it? If we talked about IQ, it would be 70, right? Something like, if you had a 70 IQ, you would not be college material. But who's the smartest? Well, let's pick Einstein. So what was Einstein's IQ? I don't know if he ever took a test, but people have said maybe 160 range, right? 170 range, something like that. So from the lowest level functioning human to the highest, it's only two and a half times. But people have been saying that AI could be 10, 20, 100. I've heard 1,000. I've heard much more than that, actually. So how smart is AI right now? Generally, people have said that generally, like ChatGPT level, is 150, 140. So AI is already smarter than most of us. Smarter meaning able to process data, able to access data, and solve problems, etc. So it's already getting close, but we have the potential here in the future that AI is going to be massively smarter, faster, smarter than humans. Okay, that's the other second inevitable. Third one is, hey, things are going to go wrong. Now, I'm not talking about the Terminator, coming back from the future. I'm not talking about Skynet. I'm not talking about the Matrix. Those are all cool, but that's not what we're talking about. But there will be growing pains. Not so much from the machine itself, from AI, but from bad players. Humans using them for evil purposes, let's say. That's easy to imagine. So there are going to be growing pains along the way, so be prepared for that. Now, according to, actually, Mo Gadat is very optimistic about the longer term, but one of the inevitables is things are going to go bad in some way or another, or maybe lots of ways, right? So be prepared for that as well. So it's going to happen. They're going to be smarter, and people are going to use them in bad ways, probably. All right. Now, one thing about this webinar, this is not a dystopian presentation. So dystopia means like a hellscape of, like the Terminator. You have these robots out killing humans because they're not needed anymore, et cetera. That's not what we're talking about. In fact, I'm going to try to present a reasonably positive, point of view when we're talking about AIs. So don't expect for this to get too negative, but it can be scary enough, actually. Now, there are two levels of AI that I want to talk about here. One is AI that does not have physical agency. So physical agency means ability to move things in the physical world easily. So AI, and that's kind of what we have now, right? We have ChatGPT, but we're not concerned that ChatGPT is going to go change something in the physical world very easily. So ChatGPT or the future generations will be able to see, they'll be able to process video, they'll be able to do things, but at least by itself, they can't actually move things around. But the second scenario is where they can. So believe me, there are hundreds of companies developing robotics and automation, including Google, including Microsoft, including lots of other companies to develop the ability to manipulate physical objects. And that's happening, massively as well. So we can expect both of these things to be going on. All right. So let's look at some scenarios. I just picked a lean topic, and then we can kind of do a thought experiment as to how things might change. So here's the first one: standard work definition. So this is a big thing that we do, right? We document work. We do time studies. We document the tasks. We identify material required at the task level. We classify the tasks as value-added, non-value-added. We add additional instructions or commentary. We maybe even develop visual work instructions based on standard work definitions. So that's a big part of what a lean person would be expected to do, or to be able to do that well. So creating step-by-step definitions of some work in a process. So how do we do that currently? Well, currently we get our legal pad or our video camera, and we go down and we observe and we document, right? Hopefully we observe a process in operation, and we interview, talk to the operators, and try to do a good job of developing a detailed description or documentation of how that work should be performed, right? And in which order, including non-value added steps like having to go get material, et cetera. That's what we do. And there are some tools that we use that are available, at least. I don't know if we use them, but there's a product called Timer Pro. So Timer Pro is pretty cool. It's where you videotape a process, and then you can run that video back within the software and take little clips of the work steps and give it a description, write out the text, and it'll store that little segment, and it'll also record the time for that segment. It's kind of like an aid to develop standard work definition. No AI involved. You're the AI, you're the human, right? The HI, human intelligence, that's doing that work. But those kind of tools do exist. Now, what could change in AI? Well, could you imagine if we have 100 or 1,000 times smarter AI, just simply viewing the video, like in Timer Pro, and doing all that work for you without having to have any human intervention, where it analyzes a video, or it could observe with a camera, observe live work, and actually generate all of this pretty much automatically. That's not hard to imagine, right? It might be hard for us to do that now, but 100 or 1,000 times smarter AI doing it, probably a piece of cake, right? Easy. So you get a very detailed breakdown of the work steps, the times, the quality risks, it could be accessing bills of material and giving you a bill of material to the individual task level, which is important, right? If you're trying to design a material presentation, you need to know where that material is used. It could do all of those things pretty easily, I would imagine, right? So that's one big thing that could go away. So what would be the human role in all of that? Well, maybe checking the work, right? Not trusting it completely, but reviewing it and validating, yeah, this looks good, and then helping to implement it. Okay? So that's that. Next scenario we could explore, impact of AI on lean. So quality or inspection. So we want to make sure that if humans are doing the work, that the humans are doing it correctly. And since humans are humans, they will make mistakes. So we put in place ways to error-proof the process or to check the work so that if errors do occur, we catch them, ideally at the point where the error occurred, and then we can fix it, and then we can improve the process later on. So that's what we do today. So as a lean person, part of your job, I imagine, part of a big job is to treat errors that happen as treasures. That's a big Toyota kind of idea, that an error is not just a bad negative thing, it's actually valuable, because now you know where the weakness is in the process, and now that's an opportunity to improve the process, right, by having an error. Otherwise, how would you know? So that's a big part of what we typically do as a lean person. Now, how would AI change that? Well, AI could actually, you've probably seen visual inspection that already exists, right, of work. Like typically in an automated line, like say a bottling plant, you would be putting a label on the bottle, and that label doesn't always go on straight, right? So you have a visual inspection system because things are running at X hundreds of bottles a minute. So you have a visual inspection system to kick out the ones that fail. Well, could an AI system do something similar just by simply observing the live work on an assembly line and identifying places where that work did not conform with the standard work definition that maybe it created earlier itself? Again, for us, that would be difficult or tedious, right? To have to be standing there watching the work. You could have a little camera in front of every station watching it. That would be one way to do it, right? Have an like external quality department inspector at every station. But AI could do that without breaking a sweat easily, right? And it wouldn't get bored watching and then flagging non-conforming work. So again, we're already into this arena, right, of doing automated inspection. In fact, I was at a Toyota plant, the one in Georgetown that makes the Camrys, and at the end of the assembly prep line, they had one of these, exactly what I'm talking about. They had a camera that was going and checking all the work. But this could be done more easily, I think, just observing the work and catching the mistake where it actually happens. I don't have a hard time myself imagining that that would be possible, right, with a 1,000x more intelligent AI running that. So what would our human role be in this? Well, it would be in setting that system up, right, and making sure that the AI is properly trained, and then maybe involving ourselves in cases where an error is found, right, as an opportunity to make further improvements. So again, this is not hard to imagine, and that would basically replace that human level work that we currently do. Next one, the entire line design process. So Leonardo Group, our kind of claim to fame is this thing called line design. So line design is, how do you take a family of products, different models, different work content? They have to be pretty similar, like the same kind of family of products, but how do you design an efficient assembly line or value stream so that you're not losing a lot of productivity based on blockages and imbalances in the flow, but at the same time you can mix if you need to or build in small batches. And that's kind of what the main part of what we do in a lot of ways is mixed model manufacturing. In fact, we teach a class at Toyota, not to the Toyota folks, but to people like you. So I'll talk about this at the end of the webinar. You have a chance to attend it. but this is a lot of what we do. But I've spent some time thinking about this, and I can't think of anything really that 1000x intelligent AI couldn't do pretty much in about 3 seconds that humans actually do. In other words, taking the standard work definitions, what is your capacity goal, and then going through all the steps that we teach that humans do, but doing it in about 2 seconds, including a layout, right? Propose optimum physical line layout. So that doesn't help our particular consulting business from that point of view, should this ever come to pass. But I have to just be honest with you, I could see that entire process at some point in the future. Now, I don't know if that's next year or 20 years from now, but I could see that as being pretty much automated, right? Now, what role would we have after that? As an AI specialist? Well, you'd probably still want to have a human looking at it, right, and kind of approving it. And of course, you still have to do it, right, implement it. So that would be a shift from the design portion to the actual implementation. Same thing in architecture, by the way. There are people, you can find this on YouTube, there are people using AI to design buildings, and it's not just a one-time design. You can ask AI, even the existing systems today, to give you 12 different designs for this particular project, and it'll come up with all kinds of things. So then you still have to build the building, right? But that whole design portion is going to be really streamlined in the future. All right, so there's that. Scenario 4, plan for every part. So let's shift to materials a little bit. So plan for every part is where we basically create a list of everything that we have to build or buy, for a particular assembly line or product family. And then we try to populate the columns in this spreadsheet with all the additional information that's maybe not in our ERP, MRP system, like our Kanban strategy, Kanban quantities, that may not be in your ERP system at all. So we want to create a pretty detailed, robust plan for every item. Now, fortunately, that's, you probably have thousands or tens of thousands of items, but fortunately they fall into groupings, right? So not everything's different necessarily. Like all the hardware fasteners might fall into the same grouping. And so the same kind of parameters might apply to all of them within that family. So it's not quite as difficult, but it's a huge job. I don't know if you've ever worked on this plan for every part, but if you have, you know what I'm talking about, right? This takes a long time. By the way, I'm sorry I'm not responding to some of the chats here. I'm just trying to talk, but we'll be saving all of the chats and try to get back to you on some of your questions or comments later on. All right, so creating a plan for every part is hugely important, but also a huge amount of work. That's why they recommend don't bite off too much at once. Try to pick a few items and try to get them done completely. In other words, try to complete the horizontal part of your spreadsheet completely rather than get a whole big long list of everything and then try piecemeal, fill it out, because you'll never get done that way. But with AI, if AI has access to your bills of material and maybe has access to your ERP data and maybe has access to outside data like supplier information and outside information outside the company, I could see them creating a plan for every part in about 2 seconds. So again, this is another area where currently it takes a lot of time, and I could see huge changes in the future. Now, again, do we have a role as a lean consultant? Well, yeah, probably reviewing the data and then doing something with it. But that creation of a plan for every part, I could see as being, again, almost totally automated in the future. All right, next one, assembly work. So now let's transition to speculate a little bit about, kind of thinking a lot about what if AI has agency, can move things in the physical world. And again, this is already happening. So you've probably seen some cool videos at Amazon of their warehouse where humans are not allowed, out on the warehouse floor, and they have these little floor robots that look like iRobot type things that pick up the racks and then deliver them to people on the outside that do the picking, but they don't have to do the walking, right? The machine does the walking, delivers it, and then they put it back, and the computer system keeps track of where things are. Now, I don't know how much AI is involved with that, but that could be done in traditional computer programming, I think. But that's already happening, right? That kind of level of intervention in the physical world. But if you have robots that can move and that are 100 to 1,000 times smarter and can actually manipulate physical objects at the, and this is what people are working on now. So they have vision and they can be trained and they can actually work on objects. Then all kinds of things could be replaced. All kinds of humans could be replaced, to be honest. So in the existing scenario, what we have to do is train people. Again, as a lean person, that's a huge part of our job, right? Is training people in doing the standard work, in learning how to check for the work, and really importantly, training people to be better humans, working as a team, and also improving their own process, looking for opportunities to improve. So that's a big part of what a lean person would be doing, right? That's how we're spending our time, working with people, getting people working on an assembly line, for example, to understand what waste is and try to find those opportunities to improve, and then engaging in some kind of Kaizen effort, right? So that's, again, a huge part of what we do. Now, if a robot's doing the work, a couple things change. Number one, you probably don't need something called flexing, right? Moving, because the robot can work faster or slower, no problem. Maybe there's a capital savings by having them move, but they don't need to, right? You could balance a line and staff it at a robot at every station. And then if you don't need that many units today, or maybe if you need more, they can speed up or slow down pretty much automatically. The quality aspect, I would not expect a robot to be making workmanship errors. They don't get distracted, right? And presumably if they're trained properly and they understand what they need to be doing, they'll do it the same way every time, right? So this issue of quality, inspection, et cetera, should kind of go away, I would think. Or if an error does occur, part of the process is they would find it, they would check it. They'd be able to fix it right on the spot. So, and of course, the number of people required for that are not too many. So I put under the human role, machine and robot maintenance. So you have humans doing the maintenance, but as far as working the line, it could be totally automated, right? Work that's currently done by humans. Now, why do we have work currently done by humans? Well, humans are flexible, right? They can be trained. Some things are just too complex to automate or too expensive. But when we get into this world of inexpensive robots with capability to move things around, then we're in a different ballgame. And that's like an assembly line environment. Same thing for material delivery. So if we have robots or androids or whatever you want to call them that can move, then all the work that human material handlers, supply chain people, fork truck drivers, all that kind of work, you could pretty easily see being replaced. Now, I've said this probably 5 or 6 times already, but currently that's not possible. Currently AI is not that capable, but we're talking here in this, we're looking down the road X number of years, I don't know how many. And so we're assuming that this is like 100X smarter than humans. So I think they could drive a fork truck. I think they could deliver material. In fact, you might even have a situation where the idea of delivery routes, which are really designed to reduce the amount of inventory you have delivered to an assembly line, but also do it, in an efficient kind of way for humans, right? But I could actually see if you have automated delivery where you wouldn't even need to do that. You could actually transition to a taxi cab material delivery versus streetcar because it would be that efficient. In other words, replenish exactly what you need in exactly the quantities. This would be a further step to the single piece flow or one-by-one delivery of materials, right? Would be actually possible. Not possible today because it would take too many people, right? To be running back and forth. But if it's all automated, that could be actually something else that could happen. So what role do humans have here? Again, they'd have to maintain the equipment, probably the external equipment. Who knows, that could even change in the future, but for the moment, but everything else could be fairly automated, right? So what we discussed so far is, different things that we do, right, as lean consultants that could be greatly enhanced or actually replaced, right, by tools. And all of this is already happening today. I mean, anything that we can think of. My experience with today's world and being able to, see what's going on a little bit with the internet is that whatever I can think of, there are probably already 10 startups and thousands of people already working on it today. So this is something that's going to be happening. Okay, here's a comment. Maybe I'll comment on this. John Dennis says, I think it's misleading and causes confusion to suggest that lean principles and lean thinking can be replaced by anything. Well, I disagree because currently, no. But if you have an AI that's 100 or 1,000 times more intelligent and has access to all of the information, in the world, why would you not think that that kind of system could be at least equal or probably a lot better than humans on those kind of things? I just don't see it. I see, this so-called lean thinking is not sacred, right? It's something that can be learned. And when you have an AI that's that much faster and smarter, I see no obstacle to AI being a lean thinker as well. Okay, that's my take on it anyway. Now, this raises all kinds of questions. One of the questions is this respect for people. Remember, in the Toyota production system, they have 4 main North Star goals. One is one-by-one production, and that's really important. That's one that's kind of, I wouldn't say ignored, but not given as enough credit as it deserves. So one-by-one production, that's one of them. And then elimination of waste or total elimination of waste. Yes, that's the big one for us, right? And that when you look on the internet and ask for a definition of lean, that's probably what's going to tell you. Lean is focused on eliminating waste. And then there's zero defects or the quality aspects. And then the fourth one is respect for people. So when we're talking about AI replacing people, that raises the question, right? What happens with respect for people? What happens? And this is an article I saw just a few days ago. Working with AI tools is making people lonely, making employees lonely and prone to drinking. I guess they did a survey, and they said, how is working with AI tools? That's current AI tools, not anything we're talking about here. And people said, yes, I'm drinking more. I'm less engaged. So that's interesting feedback right there. But what we can expect in terms of the people side of things is similar to what was seen in England at the start of the Industrial Revolution, where the agrarian society in England was being replaced by factories. And a lot of people, were out of work, basically. And so there was quite a long period of disruption, until things kind of settled out in terms of that transition. So we can expect something similar today, maybe not so extreme if we can take the right steps, but we can certainly expect pretty massive productivity gains by AI or job losses related to AI. Again, that's already happening. Outside of lean, let me give you an example. If you're a computer programmer and you get good at prompt engineering, we'll talk about that in a minute, you can double or triple your productivity as a programmer. But doesn't that mean that unless there's a whole lot of programming work that's new, that some programmers that are not as good at that are going to be a whole lot, not a little bit, a whole lot less productive and not needed, really. So that's just one area. And we've already talked about assembly work and all kinds of other things. So even lean consultants, right? Or lean specialists, how many of those do we actually need? If the AI can do standard work definition and do line balancing and do training and do lots of things, then maybe we need fewer of those as well. So we can expect significant job losses in the short to medium term. Now, we're creative and capable, so human beings will come up with other ways to spend their time or to add value. No doubt about that. But in the short term, there probably will be an adjustment. Now, what is the impact of AI on motivation and creativity, or Kaizen? Well, if the AI is identifying defects and actually eliminating them by automating a lot of the work that we do, then there could be, at least in the lean arena, less need for Kaizen because the AI can design the pretty much perfect process, eliminate the waste up front, and then execute. So that, that is reduced. I wouldn't say eliminated, but reduced. So what motivation, how does this impact motivation, creativity? I don't know. I'm not sure. If you're a musician, for example, and currently AI generated music kind of sucks. But if a 100 times or 1,000 times smarter AI can start writing really cool music with amazing lyrics, if you're a musician, is that going to motivate you to go into the recording studio or not? I'm not sure. So that's kind of an open question, but probably there's some risk depending on who you are. So another question to consider is who's going to benefit from all of this? Because it's essentially like automating everything, and the owners of that automation typically would accrue the benefits, right? So if fewer employees, then and the same revenue, same output, because you've automated a lot of it, then a lot of these profits and work go to a smaller and smaller number of people. So we already have a massive income inequality situation in the US and a lot of other countries, but could get worse, right? Unless something changes in terms of policy. So that's something, again, we're going to have to struggle with, even to the point of requiring some universal basic income. Because if we're able to generate a lot of products, a lot of output without a lot of people, what are those people going to do? How are those people going to make a living? That remains a question. So one of the things that's been suggested is some kind of taxation, of that output that helps support people, helps people to live, with direct payments, right? Direct cash payments. And again, that's something that people resist, obviously. Some people resist, but that's something that's going to have to be discussed here in the future. So a lot of things in the pipeline that we're going to be dealing with. That's some of the issue of mistakes are going to happen, right? Or bad things are going to happen. That's kind of what we're talking about here. Now, specifically in terms of a lean specialist, some of you are lean folks, or a lot of you. So how would your job change? Well, one of the new job roles that I think is evolving, at least in the medium term, is this idea of a prompt engineer, prompt engineering. What that means is that you get good at using AI tools. The AI tools are not replacing you exactly, but you're using it as a way to enhance your own productivity in terms of your job. So a prompt engineer is someone who's good, skilled at asking the right questions in the right format so that you get get the right response from AI, from ChatGPT, for example. So apparently it makes a big difference in terms of how you pose your questions, the quality of what you get back. So it's all in plain English, so you don't have to be a programmer, but you have to ask the question the right way. So prompt engineering is kind of a new role. So being able to write prompt engineering, or questions or queries to solve some of the lean challenges and opportunities that we have is going to be a part of your job. Again, if you do that as a lean specialist, you're going to be more effective, right? You're going to be more productive. You're going to come up with better solutions if you can do that. So part of our challenge here is to learn how to do that. Learn how to phrase or structure your queries in the right way so we get the right level of detail. Because if you don't do that, ChatGPT or AI is happy to respond to whatever query you make. But if it's not sufficiently detailed and structured, you're going to get back what tend to be more generic kinds of responses, right, that are true but not that helpful. So that's another way that we can actually start leveraging this. And as I said before, if you're a computer programmer or many other industries, my son, for example, is a graphics designer in Los Angeles. Well, we've been talking about this. He and I have been talking about this, that he again is going to be impacted. Now, at least for the time being, he's telling me that, boy, the human creativity is really key. Yeah, but a lot of the time you spend is not so much human creativity as execution, or looking for illustrations, looking for visual, tools and images to use, and all of that may be a lot faster if you can start leveraging AI tools. He said, yeah, absolutely. So, and if you don't do that as a graphic designer, you're going to be behind, right? Other people are going to be better than you are and more efficient. So the bottom line is, at least certainly right now and in the future, AI is not going to replace us. But if we don't use AI tools, then your own job is going to kind of be at risk because other people will. It's the prisoner's dilemma. Some of these prisoners are going to use AI and they're going to be faster and better and more productive than you are if you choose not to use it. So if you choose to be a purist and say that, hey, AI will not replace us, your job could be at risk. Because companies are not going to really, this isn't too controversial that companies exist to make money, right? Whatever saves, money is going to be attractive to them, or anything that can help them make more money. Even if they don't save any, they can, improve sales, et cetera. If AI tools can help them do that, then that's what they're going to go towards. So don't be too naive about that, right? Last thing on this subject, role of lean specialist, is one thing that I've seen already is that AI is pretty good at writing code. You can't trust it 100%, but maybe if they're 100 times smarter than we are in the future, you will be able to trust it more. So now you have to be able to check it, but you don't have to be an expert programmer. That's the thing that's changed. You can be pretty good at Python, but have AI write the Python code. So you describe what you want to do in English, and it'll write the Python code for you. Now, if you have no Python experience, then you can't really check it, right? You can maybe learn a few things and try to run it, but if you run into problems, you'll be kind of stuck. So what I'm saying is you can't get by with zero coding experience, but if you have some, you can really go far, because ChatGPT, in my experience, has written some awesome Excel macros for me, and I know a little bit of Python, so I've done some experimentation with that, and that's been also kind of eye-opening. So even as a lean person, you're not strictly a coder per se, but if you can start getting some skills in this arena, you can add a lot of value. I think I mentioned in a previous webinar, part of my claim to fame when I was in the corporate world was being able to develop some tools, software tools. They were real simple, but saved people a lot of time, and were valued because otherwise people are just wasting a lot of time doing relatively simple things that could have been automated. So this is way back in the 90s and earlier, but that was part of my claim to fame, is I could develop some of these simple tools. So keep that in mind for the future. Now, time frame. How soon might this happen? Well, the predictions are all over the place. From, this isn't going to happen for another 20 years or more, to, hey, in fact, Mo Gadat, the author I mentioned earlier, said, hey, if you're a young person, I would recommend not having children. Put off having children for a few years, because it's happening very quickly. The improvement. Now, here's something that blew my mind. Let me share this with you. The theory of natural selection, right? Where there'll be a mutation in an animal because they got too much sunlight or whatever it is. There'll be a genetic mutation that will get passed on to their offspring. And if that mutation was helpful in helping that offspring survive, then the chances of survival are higher. And what will happen is that change, that genetic mutation will get passed down, right, to subsequent generations. And that's how, the species evolve over long, long periods of time, longer than we can kind of grasp in our minds. But long periods of time, you'll see, species evolve, and that's what we have in the world today, right? We all have a common ancestor of some kind, all the way back to some kind of single-celled amoeba at the bottom of an ancient ocean. So that's Darwin's theory. Now, in the world of AI, what's actually happening is AI can create children, right? AI can write code, right? So AI can write code to replicate itself. And that's something kind of new. And so what they're doing in AI development is they've created something. Again, I'm an amateur here talking to you, so don't believe me 100%. I'm explaining to you as I understand it. They have creator bots and they have like testing bots. So the creator bot will actually create a bunch of children for some code, right? AI. And it'll make completely random modifications to that code. And it can create thousands of children in about 1 second, okay? It doesn't take long. And then what the training bot does is it gives all these little children a test of intelligence, right, to solve problems. Quite instance, thousands of questions, thousands of queries, etc. Again, doesn't take long. And then the theory of survival of the fittest takes over, and the dumb ones, the dumb AIs, get deleted, I guess. Don't feel sad. And the smart one gets kept. And then they do that again. So we're going through natural selection at the speed of light. And so how long is this all going to take? When you're able to do kind of a natural selection at that speed, then things really speed up in terms of improving, the results. The intelligence of the AI is going to improve really fast. So who knows? But a lot of people are shocked. A lot of people who know, right? AI experts are shocked at how fast it's developing. Now, may have heard the term singularity. So what is the singularity? Singularity refers to a boundary where things totally change, right? So one of the singularities in the physical world is a black hole. So you have the edge of a black hole. On one side of the black hole, on our side of the black hole, the laws of physics apply. But as soon as you cross that edge of the black hole, into the black hole, who knows what happens inside there? The laws of physics no longer apply. And so what we're talking about with singularity is that boundary that we cross where AI is no longer controllable, right, by us. Today, we can turn off the computers. But if we have 1,000 or 1,000,000 X more intelligent AI, it's going to know that, and it could want to protect itself, for example, right? And it's no longer controlled by humans. It's too smart, right? So it's outside of our control. So that's what we're calling the singularity. So it's not just a smart AI, it's just AI beyond our control. The other term they use for that is a Rubicon. So I guess Rubicon, if I understand it, is a river in Italy, and crossing the Rubicon meant, crossing over the red line, right? Or crossing this boundary that beyond which you're kind of breaking the taboo or breaking the boundary. It's called crossing the Rubicon. This was, the Roman times. So that's similar to the singularity. When you cross the Rubicon, it's no longer in our control, as human beings. So again, this probably is going to happen, right, at some point, but we don't know how soon, and there'll be a lot of transitional steps, up into that. But it's probably going to be sooner than we think. So kind of be prepared for that. Last thing, if you weren't anxious enough already, here's one more thing to make you anxious about this. There's something called quantum computing. Again, I know nothing about this. I just know what I've read, right? So you're listening to an amateur here. But, the normal computers rely on zeros and ones. So you have a bit that can either be a 0 or 1. With quantum computing, it can be 0 and 1 at the same time. I don't understand that. Okay, I can't quite grasp it. That's the theory. So, in other words, you can create computers that are massively more efficient or faster using this quantum methodology. You know, being able to manipulate atoms, I guess, you know, in the quantum arena where a single bit is no longer a bit or bits. It's actually more than one at the same time. So this is not science fiction. This is actually happening. Google has quantum computers that they're currently using. Microsoft is developing. IBM has quantum computers that are in development. This is a picture here of what they might look like, I guess, or that they do look like. Right now, they are, you know, kind of in early stage, very early stage, but they're working. And to just give you an example, they had a problem that they were, this is at Google, I believe it was Google or IBM. They had a problem that would take a conventional supercomputer, not a conventional normal desktop. It was a supercomputer, 10,000 years to solve. Now, how did they come up with that? I don't know. But they said 10,000 years of processing to solve this problem. And it was solved by a quantum computer in 200 seconds. So what that means is, at least for this problem, right, not in general, but for that problem, that quantum computer was 1.5 trillion times faster than a conventional supercomputer. So if we start combining AI with quantum computers, you're way beyond the Rubicon. I would say way beyond that singularity event, I would say. But so that's what's in development. Again, what's going to stop it? Nothing. You know, people are working on, thousands of people are working on this today. And they're already running. They're up and running. They're not playing with theory. These computers are up and running. So put that in your anxiety bucket. So I think that's all I have to say about it. A couple things available to you now. We have the Lean Design Studio. So that's our website where we have our courses. I'm thinking that mixed model line design and mixed model material management are important if you're a lean specialist now, and will be important as we make this transition, because AI can take advantage of a lot of our methodology. Our methodology that we teach at Toyota in public classes and privately working with our private clients is a data-driven kind of approach. So it's really a great fit for AI help, right? In terms of automating some pieces of that, error checking, improving the process. So if you're not already familiar with it, this is a place where you can learn, as well as I'll tell you in a second about the opportunity to go to Toyota, where this is what they practice as well. One AI feature that I've added to the studio is what we're calling a private label chatbot. So I found a ChatGPT kind of based add-on where you can add your own information, your own content, and have a kind of a private chatbot that works pretty much like ChatGPT, right? You pose queries and then you'll get answers. But the answers that you'll get are based on our own content. So you're not going to get random answers to your questions from the internet or from whatever it was trained on originally. You're going to get Leonardo Group, mixed model line design, mixed model manufacturing answers, which I think is beneficial because we can trust those answers a little bit better. So hopefully less hallucination, which ChatGPT is, prone to. So at the studio, we have all the courses that we teach at Toyota, but in an online version. Invite you to check that out. You can get just to a pure information page. You don't have to enroll or anything. It is a membership site, but you can check it out at leandesignstudio.com.